Hello, everyone. I'm Grace Bennett, social media manager at JDRF, and I've lived with type 1 diabetes for over 20 years. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Padmaja Kumari Parmar. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Very well indeed, Grace. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Well, we will go ahead and dive right into some of these questions. And as you and I both know, a type 1 diabetes diagnosis is a massive challenge at any age. But you were diagnosed when you were very young, I believe 5 years
Right,
old.
right.
And kind of growing up from childhood onward, did you face any stigmas or sort of negative attention or challenges while you were growing up living with T1D? And kind of, if so, how did you work to overcome them?
So the short answer to that question is yes. But I want to look at it in two different parts. One is yes, I was diagnosed very early, and I was diagnosed at the age of 5, which I've always considered a blessing. And the reason it's been a blessing is it just taught me to live a healthy life. I think those of us with type 1, that's the ACE card. We're asked to eat well, drink well, rest well, don't take stress. Which of this would you not recommend to someone who doesn't have it? Right? These are good qualities to possess, regardless of type 1 or not. And that part has been a blessing. It became such an important part of how I chose to live my life at a very young age, without it feeling like the sort of words I hear is like a burden or a noise or what have you. And so that's been a positive. And I say this also for some of our other young peers who are diagnosed. Listen, it tells you how to truly live a healthy life, which I hope you would choose regardless. So that's the part that I find the most empowering. The second part, quite different. I think it still continues as far as the stigma and the negative noise around it. And that's why I'm really here today. I don't think any of us deserve any of that negative noise. I don't think anyone deserves any of the stigma that gets associated because of lack of information, if you will. Type 1 diabetes is a condition. We've been very lucky to have insulin that was discovered over 100 years ago, which can truly help us thrive. It's the one hormone that those of us with type 1, it does not get made. But the fact that we can have access to it, it gives us all the opportunities to be able to live a full life. And a lot of us with type 1 have made that commitment and have made that choice. So I really don't see any place for the stigma. I really don't see any place for the noise that surrounds it. But does that mean that I grew up without it? No. Does that mean that it didn't bother me? It still bothers me. And I just feel that in order to make this difference, we need to come together collectively, and to do it for us and to do it for all our other peers who are still new at it. I do have about 39 years of experience with this condition, and and so here we are talking about it.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting because I do feel like so many of the stigmas around type 1 and diabetes, just generally speaking, are often the punchline is often health related. But you also brought up another great point, which is you'd be hard pressed to find somebody, especially I think when um especially young adults, teenagers that think more about their physical health. Because when you're younger, you're kind of like, I'm young, I can get away with, maybe eating badly or, not getting enough sleep. And, when you have type 1, those are things in addition to a billion others that you have to think about. It's definitely kind of a all encompassing disease, and a total balancing act kind of with regular life and all the other things you're doing. And I know for you, you travel a lot, you are very, very busy. And so, kind of, how do you work to maintain managing T1D, keeping things, good and healthy while maintaining a very rigorous, robust schedule?
Again, to keep it in simple terms, which is how I like to view everything, because I feel that's the only way I can sustain something, is to see it as bite size. And I just feel making a commitment to yourself, making a commitment to those you love, and making a commitment to what means the most to you. And that is a commitment I think I made a long time ago, knowing that there are others who've come before me, and there'll be others who'll come after me, with this condition. And if those who came before me were able to thrive with it, why can't I? And it's that commitment that has allowed me to take on all these other aspects that you just mentioned with life, whether it's to travel, and be a mother and just live the best life I can. Um, and um, um, and I've been very lucky. I don't think one can overlook that, but it's really come from a place of being committed to wishing to be healthy, to want to thrive. And that's, I think, been one of my biggest lessons from type 1 as well. It's a choice we make, to a large extent. I don't want to be frivolous and say it's completely a matter of choice, but I think to a very, very, very large extent, it is a choice that we make towards ourselves. And when I made that early on. I think it's been a large part of why I can do all of this. And again, I mean, I think about the newly diagnosed, to let them know that it's a choice that you have to a very large extent. Listen, life happens to everyone, and there are certain elements and times where one doesn't quite feel it's a choice, but let's work with things we can control, right? It's had a domino effect. I haven't been and cannot control everything and my entire surroundings, but those that I can, and that I have been committed to, have helped me greatly. Have helped me to be able to do these things that matter with the ones who matter. So I think that's sort of my question to how we manage. And you're
Yeah.
right, it is a balancing act, and but so is life, right?
Right.
I'll talk to my girlfriends, or I'll talk to a set of friends, and life feels the same. It's just how much attention and how much commitment you want to give it, and what your goal is, right? And for me, to be healthy is a very high goal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's, you can't beat feeling the best you possibly can. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. And you talked a lot about recently diagnosed T1Ds and using your story to inspire others. And you have been very passionate about using your story and your platform, both in India and kind of all over the globe, and kind of bringing people together to talk about kind of ignoring the noise and focusing on being as healthy as possible with the tools you have. And that obviously varies place to place, population to population, but also working to get better tools to underserved populations and really just kind of bridging those gaps. So I wanted to ask if you had kind of if it was more gradual, kind of slow burn, or if you kind of had an aha moment where you kind of said, I have my platform and this is how I want to use it.
you know, um, th- I had both. I had both, and I don't know how quite to describe it. So I don't remember my life without it. I got it at age 5. My memories before that is quite less. I can confidently say that I've known my entire life with it. I think my voice has become louder more recently, but does that mean that my heartstrings didn't pull before that, while I was committed to changing the you use the correct word, to remove the unwanted noise.
Mhm.
And it took me a minute. I am a bit of a thinker and a planner. I think it's a little bit of a secret all of us with T1D have. I think it's an innate quality, right?
Absolutely.
So that was the aha moment. Well, the initial part, I wanted to think through on how I can truly make an impact. And then there was a moment where I'm like, I'm ready. I might not feel 100% ready, but I'm ready to come out, because I realized that even if I could change and inspire one person, that's victory. And so being able to utilize that platform, the platform I have, because of my family, because of some of the other work that I'm doing, I felt, if I cannot have a louder voice with type one, it's a disservice. So it became a moment where it was not an option. I'm just really happy. I think a lot of the feedback that I get is very motivating. Um, and um, and I can't imagine my life not doing this. And of course, I'm very gravitated. My heartstrings pull a lot towards the young kids who are newly diagnosed, and it
Mhm.
may have to do directly with the fact that I got diagnosed early on. I had a very fortunate upbringing because of my mother and the strength that she showed, the trust that she showed, and
Mhm.
what a big difference that made. Um, so if I can share that with either caregivers or those who are diagnosed, and if that can help them live their life and thrive at it, I mean, what more can I truly ask for? That's very fulfilling to me.
Yeah, I think, it can be hard when something is happening to us and we're having to deal with it every day, whether it's type 1 or something else. It can be very hard to open up and be vulnerable about those things because, maybe some of that noise has subconsciously or consciously gotten to you and you feel
Yes.
embarrassed or ashamed or whatever those feelings might be. But I always tell, other people with type 1, I said, sharing your story with people people you don't know, kind of, there's no better, I can send type 1 facts all day long to people, but at the end of the day, they're just kind of words on a page.
Right.
Okay, I get the idea of it, but if I talk about what it feels like to wake up in the middle of the night, sweating, shaking,
Right.
low,
Right.
and then falling back asleep and maybe waking up not feeling my best afterwards, people kind of go, "Oh, that's a lot more than just testing your blood and giving a shot of insulin and kind of going about life normally
Mhm.
otherwise." So, I always encourage people to share those stories because that's kind of the most impactful way to spread awareness about diabetes. So I love that you're doing that here in the States on a global scale. I think it's fantastic, and I think everybody should, in their own kind of communities and the way they're comfortable, use their voice to kind of spread that awareness. So just one type one to another, thank you so much for
I
using the
appreciate it.
platform you have.
Well, the same goes to you, Grace, and I think there is a lot of power in that, and everyone's voice matters, right? And I heard that for a long time. I don't think I exactly knew what it meant. But yes, I also suffered through a lot of stigma. I did get a lot of negative pushback. And you know what? It's okay. I think it's more on them than on me at this point.
Mhm.
It's those people who unfortunately didn't have enough information or did not have the interest of the time or whatever that may be, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what I want my fellow T1Ds to know, that we're okay. I mean, we're okay and we'll continue to be okay. will continue to do, Olympics and be mothers or be engineers or whatever we want. And that's the point I want to leave my peers with. And that's the very reason I want to be an advocate. I in no way I do not want them to feel in any way that they're restricted. That's the noise that bothers me the most, because a lot of people, and some very well intended people, feel it's restrictive. It's not. And
Yeah.
I don't want a kid at age 5 or 7 or 9 who wishes to be an Olympian, or who wishes to be, an astronaut or what have you, feeling because of type 1 he cannot, because we have Olympians and astronauts with it, right? So I mean, let's get out there and do what makes us us. I do want to have yes, you're right. I feel very strongly about getting this information out there in India and some of the very rural areas where even access to insulin is a challenge.
Mhm.
But I'm certainly not limiting where this information gets to, because it does need to have a global impact. And that's what motivates me. And I'm grateful to JDRF for giving me this platform, to be able to talk about it, and to meet people such as yourself and others with type 1 who are doing big things. I think we have a story to tell.
Well, I think that is a great place to end. I have nothing to add. That, I'm gonna watch this back and when I wake up in the morning to motivate myself for the day. That's, all such fantastic advice, for people obviously living with T1D as well as even people without it. So thank you so much again for taking the time to sit down and talk with me today. We really appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure, and I love being here. And I just, for anyone who is listening to this, I do want you to know that the challenges that do come with T1D, I've faced them. I've, been in situations where I've been out of insulin, or I've been in a situation where, I've had to run out in the snow to be able to get insulin. So please know that I'm not coming from a place where I haven't experienced this. I have, and I'm still sitting here in front of you telling you you can too. And it's just wonderful to have a community. And I think JDRF is such a leading organization for all of us with type 1, and I remain grateful. So thanks for having me, Grace.
Thank you.